Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to do a movie recap regarding a 2020 American science fiction comedy film entitled Bill and Ted Face the Music. It is the third film in the Bill and Ted film series and the sequel to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in 1991. Warning: spoilers ahead. I hope you enjoy the movie recap. The film starts with daughters telling the story of their dads, Bill and Ted. They went through time and hell to create great music as the Wild Stallions, but after achieving big success at one point, with multiple record albums, their music quality began to decline, and the world seemed to care less about them. Meanwhile, their actions have caused reality to bend, sending historical figures to different eras, like Jesus switches places with Kid Cudi, for instance. To this day, they have not written the song that will unite the world. In the present day, Bill S. Preston, played by Alex Winter, and Ted Theodore Logan, played by Keanu Reeves, are at a wedding to perform for Ted's younger brother, Deacon, played by Beck Bennett, and Missy, played by Amy Stick, who married both Bill and Ted's dads first. The guys play a mishmash of instruments in their attempts to create their big song, but it just sounds bad, and Ted's elderly dad Jonathan thinks Bill and Ted are just washed up losers who waste their time and have been poor role models to their daughters, Wilhelmina Billy Logan, played by Bridget Lundy Payne, and Thea Theodora Preston, played by Samara Weaving, while also saying that their wives, Princess Joanna, Jo, played by Jayma Mays, and Princess Elizabeth, Liz, played by Erin Hayes, are the only real adults in their families. Liz and Jo bring their husbands to couples therapy, even though the intention was to do it separately. They talk to Dr. Wood, where it is apparent that Bill and Ted can't do anything without each other, even tell their own wives "I love you."
We love you guys. Ah, that is good, dude.
Liz and Jo admit that, while they love their husbands, they do feel that the two are just going through a routine that they can't grow out of. Bill and Ted go home, feeling upset over how they are viewed, with Ted even thinking of selling his Les Paul guitar to make money. Suddenly, an egg-shaped time machine appears. Out steps Kelly, played by Kristen Skould, the daughter of the guy's previous time travel guide, Rufus, who had apparently passed away some years earlier. Kelly tells Bill and Ted that they need to go with her. Billy and Thea watches their dads hop in the time machine. The guys are taken 700 years into the future in San Dimas, California, where Kelly brings them to meet her mom, the great leader, played by Holland Taylor. She explains to the guys that, since they still haven't written the song that will unite the world, and we're still time and reality have begun bending in an event called The Unraveling, if the guys can't produce the song within less than 80 minutes, 7:17 p.m. specifically, reality is doomed. Kelly gives them a pocket watch from her father that will keep track of time in San Dimas. Bill and Ted know they won't have enough time, so they decide to try and go into their own futures to steal the song from themselves when they think they have already written it. They hop inside their old time traveling phone booth and head out. The guys end up in 2022 to find their future selves performing at a lounge for people who aren't even listening to them. Present Bill and Ted confront their future selves and learn that they have become bigger failures, not only in their music, but Liz and Jo left them after their own future selves showed them that there is no happy life with them, and their own daughters have stopped talking to them. The guys rush back to their present timeline to find their wives in therapy again, where they beg them not to join their future selves, but they still have a hard time saying "I love you" to them. Liz and Jo then see their future selves in their own time machine and head out. Dr. Wood also sees a historical figure appear on her couch, and she leaves. Back in the future, the great leader tells Kelly that perhaps the only way to bring balance back to reality is to have Bill and Ted killed. She sends a time-traveling cyborg to hunt the duo. Kelly then uses her time machine to go back to present-day San Dimas to find Bill and Ted, but instead finds Billy and Thea. The two decide they want to help their dads unite the world. They use the machine to go back to 1968 to meet Jimi Hendrix and try and recruit him for their song by uniting some of the greatest artists in history. Jimmy is uninterested, so the girls realize they'll need bigger inspiration. Meanwhile, Bill and Ted go to 2025, where they come across a large mansion, thinking they have made it big as rock stars by now. They find their future selves dressed in flashy clothes, and speaking with posh British accents, that they say they got from time traveling with their wives, through the medieval ages. They give their past selves what is supposedly the song that will unite the world for them to take back to their time, but as they are leaving, present Bill and Ted discover that the mansion belongs to Dave Grohl. Their old selves are actually balding, fat, alcoholics, who are even worse than their 2022 selves. Jonathan and Deacon arrive with the SWAT team, after Dave calls the cops, and since future Bill and Ted know what their past selves are going to do. Present Bill and Ted come up with a crazy plan to cover their heads with buckets, so their future selves won't know where they went. The guys make it to their time machine, just as the cyborg arrives, and prepares to vaporize them, but he is too late, and he accidentally zaps Jonathan. He ends up in hell, where he is greeted by death. Billy and Thea go to 1922, to find Louis Armstrong, one of the most influential figures in jazz. Billy shows him a video she recorded of Jimmy on stage. Louis is impressed, and goes to 1968 with the girls, to meet Jimmy. Although he still appears to not want to do it, especially since Louis Armstrong would be an old man at that time, Louis plays his trumpet, which is enough to convince Jimmy to join them. They then take the two artists all the way back to Vienna, in 1782, to find Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. They hear him performing one of his pieces, and Jimmy takes out his guitar, to mimic the notes. Mozart is impressed by what he hears, and joins the team. Bill and Ted then go to 2030, where they find their future selves in prison, both of them jacked and tattooed. They took the fall for breaking into Dave's house, and now they plan to beat their past selves for it. However, the cyborg shows up, and attempts to kill present Bill and Ted, which prison Bill and Ted know will mean that they will die too. They get the inmates to pile on the cyborg, as present Bill and Ted make their escape. Billy and Thea bring the three musicians to China, in 2600 BC to meet Ling Lun, the founder of music in China. Mozart plays her bamboo flute, and she joins them. The girls take them even further into the past to North Africa, where they meet a dimmer called Grom. They convince her to come along as well. With their band assembled, the girls return to present day San Dimas, where Kid Cudi also appears with time, and reality still unraveling. He seems to understand the paradox that is occurring, just as the cyborg shows up. He accidentally vaporizes everybody, as well as Kelly, and sends them all to hell.
Feel that.
Bill and Ted decide to go all the way to the end of their lives, which is somewhere in 2067. They find themselves super old in a retirement home. They present their younger selves with a flash drive, containing their big song, called Face the Music and labeled Preston/Logan MP 46717. As they prepare to head back, the cyborg shows up to get Bill and Ted, but his programming won't allow him to kill them, since they have the song. When they learn that he sent their daughters to hell, Bill breaks the flash drive to get the cyborg to kill them, but Dennis instead has a nervous breakdown, and tries to kill himself. Bill and Ted jump into the path of the laser, which Liz and Joe see. The guys end up back in hell, and go searching for their daughters. They find them, as well as Jonathan, who realizes that everything Bill and Ted told them about time travel was true. After reuniting, they figure that they can get back to Earth with Death's help, but he had a falling out with Bill and Ted after they kicked him out of Wild Stallions for performing overlong solos. Billy and Thea talk to Death, as they are actually fans of his bass playing, and they convince him to give their dads another chance. After Bill and Ted apologize, Death uses Jonathan's SWAT van to bring the family and the historical musicians back up to Earth. Everybody arrives in the present day 2020 on Interstate 210, which is where MP46 is. All of time and space starts coming undone, with monuments and other figures start jumping to other time periods and locations. Dennis gives Bill and Ted the pieces of the flash drive, but they still don't know how to write their big song. They then realize that the Preston/Logan is not them, but rather Thea and Billy, as they are the masterminds behind the big song, and their dads are there to back them up. The girls give instruments to their band members, which doesn't sound too great at first, until they start to get things in sync.
Amazing! Yeah!
Liz and Joe show up, and tell the guys that the happiest timeline with them is the one they are in now. Bill and Ted finally individually tell their wives they love them. They all go through history to give everyone instruments to play, thereby actually uniting the whole world in song. When the guys return, they play epic guitar solos, for the whole world to hear. The movie ends with reality begins to set itself back to normal. Kelly and Dennis return to the future, where the great leader commends Kelly for her work, and everyone returns to their regular timelines. Billy and Thea end with their narration on how their dads help unite the world by getting everyone to play together. I hope you enjoy another episode of our movie recap. Until next time.